Welcome to UNCAGED, a show that celebrates thought leadership from today's top business leaders. The program provides a voice to amazing executives from around the globe who are shaping the world of business today and mapping the path to the commerce of tomorrow. Today, we're speaking with Stephen Whiteley. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Bant. How are you?
I'm well. It's great to talk to you. Stephen is the co-founder and CEO at Quicksilver Translate. I need a translation for that. He's built a fabulous business that's one of the leaders in multilingual translation, has an amazing team of certified linguistics experts, really bringing together the best of IT for translation needs. But before we kind of get into what Quicksilver Translate is up to, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career, Stephen.
Okay, I was brought up bilingual, so I have a British father, Spanish mother. So I was born in the UK but raised in Spain. Then I went back to the UK to study. I actually studied languages and economics at Cambridge. Then I worked in the City of London for a bit. I was in auditing, then in management consulting. Then I came back to Spain, married, continued the whole management consulting thing, and finally got very tired of that kind of lifestyle, as so many people do, and decided I wanted to create my own company. So, my where I can add value most is in languages, because it also runs in the family a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I started up Quicksilver in 2004. Shortly afterwards, my father joined me. He came out of his role in his multinational, an American multinational, and we decided to go for it together. We've been at it for 17 years, and we started off working from home. A couple of years later, we set up an office and a team. The team is still there. The office is no longer there. We work from home, thanks COVID. And actually, we've got used to it. We love it. And now it's opened up all kinds of possibilities for us. So we have.
Well, we'll definitely tweeze through that a little bit more. I think that a lot of companies are having that very discussion right now, which is what do we do about our offices and where do we go from here? But let's go through a little bit more about Quicksilver and how you approach the translation industry and the translation need for companies. Tell me a little bit more about how you cultivated and structured the offering and how it works today.
Okay, so for us, the key is to adapt to what our customers need, but also to what our customers already have and are capable of doing themselves. Translation is a service which people outsource when they don't have the time. Everybody thinks that they can do it, especially here in Europe, where everyone seems to be bilingual or multilingual. And what that's led us to do is to combine the capabilities of our translators, qualified, certified, native speakers of the language they translate into, with the possibilities offered by technology, which keeps changing every day. So we've set up 4 levels of service. Mm-hmm. And different customers can use different levels for different projects. So, for example, you might want us to do an initial translation for you, and then someone in your office can tweak it and polish it. Or the other way around, you might want to do the first 80% of a project, say, and then give it to us for review, which is what a lot of our business school customers do. That's just 2 examples.
So that's great. So coming in at different steps of the process. And I would say that one of the things that I suppose is becoming more and more part of our lives is the discussion around machine learning. And we all, my friends that are, I don't know what we call them, Googleites, the Google crew. They're like, oh, well, just use Google Translate. It'll solve all your problems, but it certainly doesn't. But I'm just curious how you and your team are approaching some of these new tools that we see in the linguistics space.
I think there's 2 elements to what you just said. One is to handle the production side of things. So to be able to incorporate machine translation in this case into your processes and do it in a way which is smooth and basically invisible to the customer. The customer just wants a perfect result. The other element of it is to manage customers' expectations, to partner together with our customers and show them where they can use machine translation processes and where they can't, where they will fall short. Help them understand in which ways they can use it, in which ways they should use it, not to be scared of it, but not to be overconfident either. And there's a fine line there, there's a balance. And I think that's where we as experienced linguists can add most value in helping them understand what is possible, what isn't, what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing.
You know, in my business, Stephen, sometimes I feel like there's not enough of a focus just on people being competent in their own language, much less another language. but you know, the reality is translation in my world would be, it would be very, very important. Yet I constantly see, you know, websites, a lot of digital media with very poor translation. I mean, how are people not waking up to this? And, you know, what do we need to tell these people to shock them into action?
I think a lot of customers are using translation less than they should. I agree with you that we see websites, for instance, which don't seem to be up to standard. But really, I think there is a mismatch between what we do in business and what we say we do. Let me explain that. We say that we look for quality, and everyone I ever speak to says, oh no, we need the best quality translation. But when it comes down to it, the decision on how to do something, not just on which supplier or which partner to use, but how to do things, ends up being a balance between three things: between quality, which is very difficult to assess and evaluate in translation, speed, because we're always in a hurry, and cost. And if you draw that, you put those together on a PowerPoint slide, say, and join them up, you get the impossible triangle. And that's where the different levels of quality fit in. And most projects, most customers, even in different projects, will have different objectives, different goals. So one day you might need a very fast turnaround of very large volumes, at which point, you know, don't ask me for a discount. Some other times you might need large volumes of a very high quality, like a product catalog, at which point don't ask me to have it ready for Monday morning. And more these days, customers and companies want large volumes at very low cost. So don't ask me for high quality. And it's learning how to be able to offer something different for each of those needs, or those combinations of needs, that I think is the way the industry should be going moving forward.
Yes, I'm very aware of the impossible triangle. And my previous career in the advertising industry, that seemed to always be the challenge, where clients would want something that would double their sales overnight, win a Cannes Lion at a tenth of the price, and tomorrow morning, if you please.
That's right. Expectations are always there, and everybody wants you to do miracles. And the truth is that disruptive business models appear once in a while. We read a lot about disruptive business models, but really most businesses do well if they tweak their processes, if they just streamline things and get a little bit better every day at what they do, and never forget what it is they're trying to do, which is to help your customers. Because without customers, you know, us in the service industry, we're nothing.
So tell me, Stephen, it sounds to me like the last last 18 months has been full of changes, not only for the world, but also for Quicksilver, as you have rethought your business, and sounds like you guys are moving to more of a remote model. Tell me about that process, and how are you faring through the whole thing? How are you staying sane?
We've been very lucky, actually. We've suffered a lot less than most other companies and most other industries. The reason is we were basically working from home already, or at least 80% of the organization was working from home. So all of the linguists, all of the reviewers, everyone doing desktop publishing, designers, web experts, etc., were already working from home. Those of us who were still in the office were management and project managers. And that's kind of been the last step. So yes, the pandemic has pushed the rest of us home and made us realize, although we kind of suspected it, but it's made us realize that you can work just as well from home. In fact, if you look at certain indicators, we've been, or at least certainly in my case, I've been a lot more productive from home. Yes, you lose out on the social or human interaction, if you want, between colleagues. And we do try and compensate for that by spending a lot of time online, talking to each other. We can't be in the same room, but at least we can be in the same Zoom meeting area or over Skype or whatever it is, and make sure there's plenty of communication, coordination, lots of online training. And we've got very good at bringing in new people, new project managers, for instance, and focusing more and more of our processes online, on the cloud, etc. So we've just taken that extra step in the direction that, to be honest, we were already heading in. So we've been very lucky in that way.
Yeah, well, that is great. I love to see how companies are evolving. And certainly I've seen those trends that many companies are finding those efficiencies and maybe facing some of the challenges that you highlighted on in terms of maybe some of the discussions where you want to be face-to-face, in person, regarding innovation, maybe things like that. But I am very excited to see how companies evolve over the next 18 months to 2 years, to see if people end up just going right back to what they were doing before, or whether we will hold on to this progress. What are your thoughts?
I think that a lot of what the pandemic has brought is here to stay. I see people finding a balance between working from home and working in the office. And of course, it's going to vary from one industry to another, and also within different functions. So people in sort of back office functions are going to be working from home a lot more because, as long as they're not client facing. People who are client facing are going to have to go back to their place of work. People in sales are going to have to change their habits. I mean, I work basically most of my time in sales anyway. And what I found is that I get to see more people and chat to people more. So a high percentage of my time is spent talking to people, but mostly from my office or even from home. Because, what we're doing right now, this is now enough for most people. And it's also become a lot more productive. There's less chit chat. There's less chatting about the weather and about what your team did last night, which is great, and I do kind of miss it. But it also means that my presentations, for instance, are way more productive than they used to be. So you're cutting on travel time, etc. Again, that's going to depend on what sort of industry you're in. So if you're in the knowledge economy, that's going to continue. And people have already learned, and they're going to continue learning to be more productive. The challenge is going to be for management to monitor people's performance. We are already finding new ways of evaluating employees and collaborators to see exactly.
And recruiting is a whole new thing, right?
For us, recruiting this has opened up the doors for recruiting all over the place. Yeah. So I now have project managers sitting in the UK, in Portugal, in Italy, and there's no reason why we can't continue growing in that way. Right now, the world is our oyster, and we can recruit from absolutely anywhere, and particularly for the language industry. I mean, that is so exciting. Whereas before we were limited to where we have offices, Barcelona, London, Miami. Now it doesn't matter where you are. You can sit anywhere as long as you're in the right time zone, and you can be part of the team.
So, Stephen, as you look forward, I mean, what are you imagining the next couple of years looking like for your business, and really the broader category of translation solutions. Are we going, I mean, I on one level, just perhaps on a more philosophical or international relations perspective, I hope we spend more time with businesses like yours, as we seem to be fragmenting away from understanding and translation, understanding one another. And so I hope we all kind of embrace the need for international understanding. But I'd just be curious, what kind of trends are you seeing on the technology side as well as the demand side?
We've been seeing growth in the industry for the last 20 years, nonstop. And yes, this year has slowed growth down a little bit, but there's still been growth. So that's definitely going to continue. In fact, this year should be, assuming we can, the pandemic is to a certain extent solved. We're going to continue to see growth in the industry. New services are being offered and new services are being consolidated. So online interpreting is happening, automatic transcription, automatic subtitling, things like that. And again, it's the crossover between automated services, call it translation, call it subtitling, call it transcription, etc., and what qualified, highly experienced linguists have to offer. And it's the combination of those two things, and whoever gets that right is going to succeed enormously and grow, because that is the key. Automating as much as you can that which can be automated, and adding value at exactly the right time to make sure that you differentiate yourself from a purely automated solution. And that's what customers are looking for and will continue to look for, because they are, in terms of the demand continues to grow. We are creating and publishing ever more content. It's billions of words every day. And we don't translate half of it. I mean, we translate a very small part of it. It would be impossible to translate everything. But learning what to translate and how, that's going to be the challenge for the demand side, i.e. for our customers. And that's the challenge that we need to continue to work towards.
I think that's a really interesting kind of mix of forces. One is that digital content surge that we see, more and more demand every day for more content, and then making sure that you utilize in the most efficient and effective way all of the tools that you possibly can, and then last but not least, making sure that you have the best talent to understand the meaning and the nuances, absolutely, where things get lost constantly in the world of communications. I can reiterate many funny stories where in my own life I have been lost in translation and perhaps needed Quicksilver Translate to save me from the scenarios. But Stephen, thank you so much for telling us about what you guys are working on at Quicksilver Translate. We've been speaking with Stephen Whiteley. He is the co-founder and CEO at Quicksilver Translate. We've been talking about how the business has rapidly expanded and evolved over the last 18 months as we faced the world of the pandemic, and really looking forward at a world where there's going to be much more demand for these types of solutions, but in a very different way, as we have to apply more and more technologies for the basic needs, and also more and more talent for the more complex, nuanced insights that we need to be pulling out. Stephen, if someone wants to learn more about Quicksilver and what you guys are working on, where should they go?
The easiest place is our website, so quicksilvertranslate.com, and obviously we're on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook, and it's actually quite easy to find us online.
Excellent. Well, listen, thank you so much for being on UNCAGED today.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you very much.